2 screws holding that thing in. I recommend pulling those things off while the caliper's still in place. This is a setup as with the rear. I could have replaced the pads without removing the caliper. This actually maybe even a little bit easier than the rear. I pull that anti-rattle clip / cover off of there, and I am then able to take a look inside very easily. I'm also able to withdraw the pin that holds it into place, and I can pull the pad straight out from here. And hopefully I'm not getting too much into the shot there. Now some people will tape the wheels or put something else between the caliper and the wheels so that they don't damage them. I've just got some newspaper shoved up there. Those of you know me, again, know I ride year round, so the salt or calcium or whatever they put on the roads here in the winter already do bad things to the wheels, so a little nick here or there is not going to get me too terribly excited. Although I guess if you're doing this for a customer, you absolutely want to make sure that you don't mar their wheels. And that can happen very easily because, again, we actually do come into contact with the wheel while we remove this caliper. So if you're a little over aggressive pulling this caliper off, you're liable to put a pretty good ding or scratch in the wheels. Okay, here we go, the anti-rattle clip. I'm calling it, it's also a shield. What this is doing, this is pressing up against my brake pads. Brake pads are right in here. Just like with the rears, there's a little pin, or sorry, a circlip to remove. And there it is right here. And I can actually get there and remove that with my hands. And there's that. I'll put this somewhere where you know you're not going to lose it. And the pin itself, as long as it's not corroded in there, I can just walk that out and pull it out by hand. Now, I've got about 20,000 miles on this. As I said, I ride year round, and it wasn't corroded in there at all. I had not taken this apart to prepare it for video. This is the first time I'm pulling this side apart. So again, if it had attempted to corrode in there, probably would have used a little bit of force, but I would have been stuck doing so with a pair of pliers or a similar tool. Unfortunately, I cannot reach the back side of this pin through the caliper. It is a blind hole in the caliper, so I don't have an open hole in there like I did with the rear, so I can't drive this one out. Okay, now, with that removed, we actually have a good shot of those brakes. So we can zoom in like this, get you at that angle. It's about as good as we're going to get. And again, you can see I do have material left on here. It is not worn to the grooves. You can see at least on the left side here. There's that groove still there. Let me get my paw out of the way. So these are still serviceable. I've got more life in them. But as I mentioned with the rear brakes, I'm going to be putting some miles on this thing, a little more than normal miles, more than just back and forth to work. So I want to just get this done now. The rear, a little more worn than the front, so I might as well replace all of them. Now, I could get, again, a screwdriver or some other suitable device. Let me show you here. I'm not sure if I'm going to have room to use it in here with it on the stand, but here's a set of snap ring pliers, circlip pliers, whatever you want to call them. I could put them right here, see if you can see that, and just kind of squeeze a little bit. Now what I've done is I've compressed the piston slightly. I don't want them in all the way, but I've got it far enough. I could remove this one and remove this one. So if all I were doing, we're replacing the pads, I'd go ahead and compress those pistons fully, slap the new pads in there, put it all back together again, and I'm done. But I don't want to simply do that. I want to go ahead and do some more work. I want to clean those pistons off before I fully compress them. Now, all right, what I'm going to do next might make some of you nervous. Kind of makes me nervous sometimes. I'm going to put these pads back in. And what I'm going to do is pump up that brake handle. These are the front brakes, so it's the handle. Now, I've got plenty of pad life on these, so I'm just going to pump that handle. And what I want to do is extend those pistons outward so that I can get a pretty good cleaning on them. Now, the reason that this makes me nervous, or can make me nervous, is that there's nothing that stops those pistons other than these pads. So if these pads, the backing plates, if they were too thin, I could actually have a piston work its way all the way out, and then I'm in trouble. And then I've got to disassemble the caliper and rebuild. But as you can see, these pads, with again the thickness of them, they allow me to bring the pistons out. And I'm not sure if you can see that in the video, but you can begin to see the shiny part now of those pistons. And that's the clean part. That is the part that was down in the seal previously. So you can see the difference between the nice clean part and the part that's been exposed to the elements. So, like the rear, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean these, and these are easier to clean than the rear. I am going to use the old boot lace, saturated in brake clean, and I'm going to clean all four of these pistons. Now, just to get you a look at that, I know I couldn't really show you very well on the rear caliper. You can sort of kind of see what's happening on this front one, so I'll give an example, and then I'll quit filming and clean the rest of them. So I'm going to saturate that boot lace, and let's see. All right, I'm just going to work that back and forth, kind of like so. I'm going to keep it as tight as I can, and I'm working as far as I can up and down. Now, you can see how much cleaner that piston is with just a little bit of rubbing that I did. I'll put it back on, work with it some more. Stuff that I don't get off with the shoelace, I'm going to go back and attempt to remove it with credit card, even my fingernail. I don't want to put anything very hard against that. I do not want to mar that surface. I don't want to do anything that's going to damage my seal. Now, you can see a little bit of gunk left there. And it is coming off with the fingernail. So a little bit of work, I think, is going to pay off in the long run. Spray that down again. Any of that gunk that I've got free is now blown off of it. All right, so I'm going to do that with the remaining three. All right, pistons are clean, shiny, that's beautiful. I'm kind of wedging it up on this bolt so that we don't put all of the stress on this brake line, although these are pretty hardy brake lines. They're not your typical automotive type rubber line. Okay. All right, now I've got them in place. One of the things I'm going to use this tool here. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze them. Snap ring, circlip, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to start it here. And I'm going to go right in the center. Now, what I could do, I could take the bleeder nipple, crack that loose. Maybe I'll do that. That way I'm not pumping that old fluid back up into the master cylinder. I've compared the pads. Physically, they're the same shape anyways. EBC has these two slightly different shaped friction material there. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell. One thing I am going to do though, I am going to transfer. As I mentioned with the rear brakes, some pads come with a sheet metal backing plate there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and I'm going to transfer it over to the new one. These generally are to help eliminate noise. All right, spring him in place, hopefully. That'll stay there. I'll do the same thing for this. Again, this one has no rear shim. All right, snap him back into place. All right, appears to be in there pretty well. Okay. Sorry. Get this over top of the rotor and possibly bang in my wheel there. Going to snug them for the time being. I will then torque them to the proper specs, in this case 30 Newton meters. All right, get those in place. Now, one thing, there we go. Alright, I'm just going to use the mirror to help find. It's in place. It doesn't rotate one or the other way. It stays right there so that when I put the anti-rattle clip shield, whatever that's called, back into place, it will keep that from coming out. Careful installing these little guys. You don't want to cross thread one of these. You'll have to manipulate that shield slash cover slash anti-rattle clip so that the holes align. Believe it or not, there is a torque spec for this. It's 3 Newton meters. I don't think I've got anything that low to measure 3 Newton meters. So I'm just going to twist it. There, that's good. Come on. All right, call that good. Make sure my bleeder is indeed tight. It is. Put the cover back on. All right, new pads in. Pump up the brake handle. Make sure that I've got a good handle. It sounds kind of funny for automotive talking about brakes, but we'll get him. All right. There should be. That's lovely. Okay, fluid. That's acceptable. All right, with that I'm done. Hopefully you learned something and maybe are not afraid now to apply what you learned with automotive onto other types of vehicles. I have to stress very strongly though that before you do any kind of work like this, and as you are doing this kind of work, consult the service manual. There may be very special things that they want you to do. The procedures might be different than what you'd expect to do with a regular, normal brake job. So again, probably your best friend there is going to be a service manual. So again, follow their procedures. Make sure that you do things properly, and that way there's no problem. You've got everything covered. It's done the way the OE says to do it, and you're in good shape then. All right, thanks for watching. All right. I said I would torque it down to spec. I'll go ahead and show you that. So we will torque it to spec. Probably need to move the camera just slightly. There we go. Set 2. 30 Newton meters. And again, I just snugged it down with my ratchet. It is rotating, so I know I didn't over torque it when I snugged it. All right, there's that one. There you go. Okay, now, got the other side done. I'm going to the house. Bye.